Alright guys, so today I have a video that is addressing specifically the Spider's Den. If you followed the account for a while in the free-to-play area, I've been going through not only the Fire Knight, but we've also tackled the Dragon Slayer, and the one thing that was shying away for a long time now is the Spider's Den, for a very simple reason. I didn't have a proper champion that would help me with HP burn to break through the higher levels, and the issue is that I still haven't gotten one. So I decided that I needed to get a bit creative in how to deal with this, and I have come up with a couple of things that you can now try. I broke through to stage 24, 25 right now and can reliably farm them, and I'm going to show you today what you can do in general with the Spider's Den, how you start into it, what the different options are that you would usually see players use, and I'm also going to show you a little trick that you should be able to pull off right now with the champions that you already have, especially of course if you started your account with the code that you can still find in the description of the video. Can still start, of course, and you will get those free champions, and you can use all of those and a couple of alternatives that everybody has usually lying around in order to break through to the higher levels of the Spider's Den so that you can get yourself accessories. Now, I've been getting a lot of my accessories, as I mentioned, through the clan shop, which is one of the best sources for really good stuff, but obviously you need a lot more, and it's going to take you ages to source all of your champions through the clan shop. So we need the Spider's Den, and we also need it because it's a fantastic source for silver. So let's jump straight in, and I'm going to show you a little bit on how this usually works and what you normally would do in order to get really good results in the Spider's Den. Alright, first we're going to take a look at a couple of champions that you would typically see with the Spider's Den. One of the best champion that you can get for the Spider's Den and other areas, and I talked about her in particular, is of course Coldheart. Coldheart is absolutely incredible. She is amazing, not only in the Spider's Den but also in a lot of other areas. So if you already pulled one, that's great. If you have multiple Coldhearts lying around, that also works quite nicely. And she has a couple of really nice tools, but one of the biggest is Heartseeker. Heartseeker's damage is based on the enemy's max HP, which makes her very, very good against bosses in dungeons. Now, quick note here, that doesn't really do a whole lot of damage when you're talking about the clan boss. So if you're currently some of those people that I see popping up every now and then that have a Coldheart in their clan boss lineup, do yourself a favor and replace her with something else. I'm sure you have something else lying around that can apply poison, for example, that will give you much better results. But coming back to the dungeon bosses, so this is fantastic for multiple reasons. Not only does her A3 here do a lot of damage, and you can literally nuke with 2 Coldhearts a high-level spider within seconds, and other bosses as well, but you also have a turn meter reduction by 100%, which is absolutely amazing. So this is one of the best things that you can do in order to control a lot of the bosses. Now there's obviously other champions as well that are really decent on turn meter control. I talked about a cheap alternative with Armiga, but if you have 1 or 2 Coldhearts in most of your dungeon lineups, that works extremely well. Does a lot of damage, controls the turn meter, and if you have 1 or 2 of those, as I already said, you just need to keep them alive, get them fast, and then you can nuke the spider down. My problem is, I don't have one. Now, you can obviously not only rely on Coldheart, there's a couple of other alternatives when we're talking about, for example, Bannerlords. We have, on the legendary side, we have Septimus, who does a similar thing. He doesn't have the turn meter control, but he also has the enemy max HP damage. So any one of those is usually working quite nicely, but those would be the typical ones. Coldheart is better because she has the turn meter control, so that's pretty fantastic. When you start in the Spider's Den, it's honestly not even all that important to have one of these guys. What you normally do is you just rely on AoE damage, because at the beginning, the whole goal is to just burn those spiders down. So you want to have a lot of champions that do AoE damage. Alice could be one, Michelangelo is another. You can just throw in whatever you have, and that burns the spiders down, and that allows you then to take the spiders apart, the boss itself. But as you progress, you are starting to have a couple of problems with this, because the spiders are not that easily killed anymore, and you have to really find a different method. And what normally then is being done, if you do not have some Coldhearts lying around, is that you start to rely very heavily on HP burn. So you want to essentially apply HP burn to all of the little spiders, then you want to build a very sustain heavy team around that champion that applies the HP burn, and then every time the spiders attack, there's HP burn damage against the boss, and eventually that will kill it. So that's the main idea behind all of this. Now, there are plenty of examples of champions that can spread a wide AoE HP burn, but one of them would, for example, be Supreme Gaelic, which for a time was also, I believe, free. So if you have one of those, it's fantastic. We have a couple of rare champions that essentially do the same, but this is usually the ways that you are approaching higher level spiders. Now, this is exactly the problem that I have on the account, and probably a lot of you guys are also sharing. I do not have champions that apply AoE HP burn. The only thing that I have, and that doesn't really fit the bill, is I have, in this case, on her A1, I have Elenaril, which you got free if you use the code that I have in the description, and you might have lying around for that very reason already. So she applies a single target HP burn, which really doesn't help me a whole lot, and at least initially, because the problem is I want to apply it to all of the spiders. So in this case, that just simply didn't work, but she's the only tool that I have here. But since I started to really need accessories, I needed to get a bit creative around this. So let me show you the team that I actually built around all that and how it works. So as you can see here, I've actually broken through stage 24 now. I haven't really tackled stage 25 simply because this is an affinity question for me. I still need to upgrade some of my champions a little bit. But this is the lineup that I'm currently using. And don't freak out if you don't have all of these champions right now. There's a couple of key components to how this works, but you can sub a lot of the others out. So we have a couple of things that are really important here, and I'm showing you on the team setup real quickly what I mean specifically. What we basically end up doing is, what I'm doing right now, I'm locking out all of Elenaril's other spells and only use her A1. Now I know a couple of you might be familiar with some poison nuke builds that also exists where you can nuke the spider with Elenaril's poison. So in this case you would use Combust, for example, but in order for that to work you need also some champions next to her that really apply a lot of poison stacks. Now I don't have those. If you do, then you might not have to rely on the HP burn, but you could instead also try to go for a poison nuke build around Elenaril. That would work as well. But basically all I need from her right now is the HP burn. Now if you don't have Elenaril, but you have somebody else that can apply a single target HP burn, this would be something that you would swap into that particular slot. But again, as I said, most of you guys will have her for free already, and if you're just starting up an account, then you can get her through the links in my description. So we're going to apply the HP burn to the boss, and then this is where Michelangelo kicks in. We are using Express Delivery to just go for full debuff spread. Now, I've toyed around with a couple of different variations of how to play this, because Shell Cyclone, for example, is quite nice since we apply the decrease attack debuff, and the leech. But sometimes it just does a little bit too much damage to the spiders die too quickly and don't apply too much poison. Now I'm going back and forth between completely locking Shell Cyclone out and not using it whatsoever, but Express Delivery is pretty much a main thing. Now you can already tell that I don't have the full cooldown reduction on this. I still need to book Michelangelo with 2 more books. I have them, I'm just not using them because I always wait for CBC events to make sure that I'm getting extra rewards here. One of the biggest things with Raid is you need to be patient on certain things, and this is one of them. So this will make my run even faster, but the idea is still the same. We apply on the boss an HP burn, and then, thanks to the A2 and Michelangelo, we spread that burn to all the spiders and then do damage. So, what are the other champions for? Glade Wolf has one specific role in this setup. I locked out all the other spells because I have him on level 50. If he was 60, I would most likely still utilize, let's say, the ally protection, try to keep everybody alive. But I have him only on 50. I'm not planning on upgrading him to 60 just yet. There's some other champions that take priority. If yours is 60, then use his other abilities to keep your lineup alive. That is totally fine. All I need him for is the decreased speed. This is literally all that he's good for. Now, if you don't have a Glade Wolf, then you can also use High Cartoon, for example. What's important is that you use this decreased speed on the spider. And High Cartoon might even be better because she also speeds your team up. In addition to that, she has a bit of turn meter control, so she's fantastic in that slot. The only reason I'm not using mine is because mine is fully equipped only for arena, for nothing else. She's pretty squishy. Her only job is to be fast because this is what I use her for. So if I would use her in different areas and would utilize her also in dungeons a bit more, I would use her in this position now as well. Then we have Gorm. You might have him too. He was part of a fusion. What he basically does is he speeds my team up and gives me a continuous heal. So if you have High Cartoon and use her instead of Glade Wolf, then you have that increased speed already. And I'm getting this stun out in order to stun all of the spiders so they don't attack. Essentially, what's happening with Glade Wolf, with Gorm, and also with Anchorite, the main reasons why I have them is to keep everybody alive. You don't need these specific champions. You can swap in whatever else you want. If you have as a rare, a Reliquary Tender, for example, you can use her too. She has a cleanse that you can use to get rid of some of the poison. If you have a debuff block, you can use that as well. Any kind of healer is gonna be nice for you. I'm using Anchorite in that slot. I also have him with an increase on my own buffs. I have the stuns from Gorm, so anybody that you have with some crowd control, with a stun, with a provoke, anybody that has good heals, you can swap all of these in. This is something that is completely free. The only champions that are really crucial in order to use this is a champion that has an HP burn, a single target in this case. If you have somebody that can apply HP burn to all of them, then that's of course fantastic, but then you're not in the same problem zone that I was in. And Michelangelo, again, he's absolutely crucial for this. And I'm going to show you a quick run how exactly that works, how that looks, and that will also explain a little bit why I have certain priorities on the abilities that you currently see here. Alright, so we're coming in, and you will see that I made my Elena reel a little bit faster than Michelangelo. I have first of all the HP burn that gets applied to the boss, and then Michelangelo comes in and is now spreading all of this out. Now the initial damage is not going to be that crazy for a very simple reason. We're going to have the spider heal itself by just gobbling up all of the small spiders, but you can already see the principle behind all of this. The decreased attack gets applied here, so that's really important for my survivability. The run that I have designed has essentially a 100% win rate. We're roughly looking at 95% right now. Once that I have that one book and the cooldown reduction on my A2 for Michelangelo, it's definitely going to hit 100%. Sometimes I have some of the guys die in the later stages, but as you can see here, this is working out really well for me. And at the end of the day, the only thing that has to really survive is Elena Rill and Michelangelo. And even Elena Rill can actually die as long as I have still 2 or 3 stacks of the HP burn on the boss that I can spread. But after the boss healed itself now, this is the time to really do some damage. You can see that with the stuns that are coming out from Gorm, I'm actually getting some control over the spiders, and they're doing very little damage here. If, for example, Michelangelo comes in and also applies his taunt, that's even better, because all of a sudden the spiders are all attacking him and he can easily tank all of this. But as long as I have my own stun through Gorm, I can control the wave. Even if the spiders would attack, it wouldn't be a real problem. We have the continuous decreased speed applied from Grave Wolf. But as I already said previously, swap in High Cantoon if that's better for you. Or if you have a high level Grave Wolf, make sure that he uses other abilities as well. If you have that allied protection in, that makes your lineup just so much more tanky. And of course you can also play around Provoke too. So he's a fantastic champ for a lot of these areas. He works here as well, but you can also replace him with others. So a lot of the stuff in the lineup is totally replaceable. The 2 heroes that you really need is you want to have an HP burn that you can spread. And Michelangelo, I mean, I've been singing his praises ever since I got him, and I showcased him in several other dungeons, but he is absolutely fantastic. And Spider Dungeon was for a long time a bit of a problem for me. It wasn't really a high priority since I could still get accessories through the clan shop, but now my lineup is getting bigger and bigger and I really need a lot more. I also need the silver, so I had to come up with something. I tinkered around with this a bit to make it work, and I'm sure that if you go into your own account and you try this out, you will get really good success. Keep in mind, you don't immediately have to push this to level 24 or 25. If you can, that's fantastic. But what you're essentially aiming for is to farm level 20 at a minimum, because this is the first time where you exclusively get 5-star and 6 stars from the boss, and that's exactly what you're trying to farm. So 2 minutes, a little bit more than that. Not a crazy time frame for Spider. If you have a cold heart, that you can nuke her down in a couple of seconds, under 30 usually. But for this lineup, for this run, that's actually quite nice, and you can see how this is working extremely well. So that debuff spread for Michelangelo is absolutely doing work here. Now I hope this helped you. Again guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. The channel is rather small and new, and it really helps if you help to spread the love a little bit with the algorithm by commenting on the videos, by liking them and subscribing to the channel of course as well. So if you learned something here, if this was helpful for you, if you got something out of it, I would really appreciate it. If you have any questions, something that doesn't quite work for you, or you need some advice, feel free to just drop it into the comment section, and I'm going to do my best to answer all of that. And well, if not, then enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.